then Dublin. Okay.
Amsterdam. Ooh.
Oh, yes. Super. So I would say my Finnish nature is saying it's already 6:08, so we should get started. Warm welcome from our side. I represent here this evening Berlin, and I'm Eva, and I'm moderating this event. I don't know how familiar you are with our community of practice, but we are very, very active community for people working in L&D field with the different backgrounds and expertise. At the moment, we are offering events, very, very popular mentoring program, matchmaking program, booster program, and then we have also an engaged Slack community. So if you are interested, if you don't know us yet, ping us, engage with us on LinkedIn, write us an email, find your way to connect with other people interested in learning and development. And if you are already familiar with our events, we are using Slido to moderate the questions, and I will keep track on them. So I would encourage you to take your mobile phone and go to the address slido.com, and there you use the code PEER, because, well, peer-to-peer is the topic of this event. Yes, let's go directly to the juicy part with Venla. I'm very, very, very excited. Venla is the HR business partner at Marley Spoon, focusing mainly on L&D, and she's going to guide us through how they implemented the peer-to-peer learning program and how did it go. And then, of course, also in the spirit of tonight's topic, we hope to see active conversation, discussion, questions, and at the end, we are here to learn and grow together. So, Venla, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you. I'm happy to take the stage. Welcome everyone also from my side. So Eva is my fellow Finns. I'm also from Finland. That's the weird name. And I'm running today's presentation and short, let's say, discussion from my daughter's room, as you can see. So I'm not even pretending that I'm in a nice office environment or have a proper study. This is the reality of today's world. We work from wherever we can close the door. So today's topic is peer-to-peer learning or peer learning, and I want to kind of introduce you a little quickly to that main concept, but then also in detail discuss what we've done and what worked and maybe what challenges we are having, and then have a little discussion around the topic. Few things about me, maybe a little bit of like who I am and why I'm here today, even talking about it. So I'm working with Marley Spoon, as Eva mentioned, as let's say culture and people managers, as HR business partners, L&D specialist. Titled these days, I don't know if they matter that much, but my main focus is learning and development. Oh, and Ulla has a sprint book. So that's one of the like very quick intro to my background. So I've been working for the last 10 plus years across different industries and different companies, mostly in kind of smaller organizations. And I'm relatively new in the learning and development field, let's say, but the way I got involved was when I worked in my last job, when we worked a lot with design sprints. So we were running a lot of design sprint trainings around the world, training companies and individuals how to work with design sprints. So that's how I kind of got introduced to this whole topic of let's say, training and facilitation. And then I joined Marley Spoon, and I was given the ownership of learning and development and was trying to figure out what to do with that. As I said, I'm from Finland, but I've lived in pretty much quite a few different countries in Europe, and also lived in Australia at some point. And now I've been in Berlin for about 7 years. So I guess that's the longest I've lived anywhere outside of Finland. So it makes me kind of a Berliner. I like to call myself a generalist. I'm hoping to become a very specialized generalist now in L&D, but I do have very versatile background, so which I think is very helpful when you're working in L&D sector. My main focus is learning and development, but also specifically leadership development. That's something I'm trying to work on right now, how to support our team leads even better. So that's just a quick info about me. If you want to know more, I'm happy to answer questions also about me later. But you're not here for me, you're here for the information. So what I thought we'd like to do, because now we are quite a few people today, so it might be quite difficult to have everyone speak up in this big group. So if we go to smaller groups and get a little warm up, get everyone talking a little bit. So I'd like you to go into these smaller groups to talk about the topic of the day already a little bit. So when was the last time you learned something from a colleague, maybe your team lead, or just a friend, and what was it? So kind of thinking of like, okay, when was the last time someone taught you something? Yeah, sort of like a peer. So this would be the warm-up discussion in the small groups. If anyone has any questions about that. So when was the last time you learned something from a friend or a colleague, and what was it? Okay.
Just a second, we are getting there. We are, even with the 6 months of online events only, it's always very exciting. So yes, off you go.
Great. Good luck. So we have a few people here. Ulla can, oh yeah, now we have people joining. Anna Maria and Catalina and Jules, I don't know if you can see a link.
Eva, then do you want to also assign how long it will be?
Let's see if there's one. Well, let's maybe, is there now 3 people in a group?
Yes, there are.
Well, we do 6 minutes, it would be 2 minutes each.
Okay, I will then just send a message to you.
Yeah. I mean, I was also asked to join one of the rooms, but I thought probably, I mean, I can. Maybe that's also where Eva went. I wonder if as a participant, I can just easily leave it. I guess so. So if I go to one group just to hear what they're saying, and then
only in the group that you assigned.
Yeah, I know. Do you know where Eva is? Like, if Eva is?
She is in the room 10.
Okay, but basically you will then close the rooms, or because I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Questions where I wasn't so inquisitive, etc. Hi, Ola.
Hi.
and actually, the root cause is because, I mean, first of all, I very much select the people with whom I mostly interact and with whom I'm mostly inquisitive, because I do prefer to spend all my energy on the people that I select rather than being broad. And the other root cause is because on a daily basis, I'm coaching people and I'm being inquisitive in my job. So when I go out of job, the last thing that I want to do is ask questions to people and be inquisitive. But that was a great revelation, and in fact, moving forward, it's something that I want to change.
That's a great feedback to get.
Yes, yes.
Well done to your colleague then, to your friend.
Absolutely. And
I
I
Radina?
really appreciate honesty in
Yes.
this case. I mean, this is something I miss sometimes. And it was a direct feedback and a good one, I guess.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
To be honest, the last 2 years, I've been my own boss. However, I do work with a startup now for the last 7 months, and they're a bunch of quite technical professionals. And I guess one thing that I've learned quite recently is the power of visualizing your ideas. So they're using a lot of tools such as Miro and Neural. And I got absolutely amazed by how much you can learn through implementing a bit of an element of play, and creating it a bit more like a fun activity, exciting activity. My background is not L&D, it's HR. So I guess L&D is something that I've been trying to get into, but this was an amazing learning curve. And I actually tried to do a training now with another client using Miro, and it was absolutely a great success. People were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny. We never thought that you can actually, leverage a tool, watching videos and doing activity and crossword on Miro." So yeah, I mean, this was related to tools, but it was also eye-opener for future training sessions.
Well, thanks for sharing, Radina. And I really like the fact that you mentioned that on Miro we can also do crosswords. This is something that I've never explored.
Well, you can add it. So I found a website where you can generate a word search or a crossword, and you then add it to Miro and ask people to do lines if they find the word, or to just put letters. So it's the combination of these tools.
Hi there, we have a breakout session at the moment. Okay, it's only you. Never mind. Okay, and let me unmute you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will give people 1 more minute, and then hi Florentina and Subot. Be just in the breakout sessions. Everyone will come back in about a minute. So just relax, sit down, and enjoy yourself.
Hello and welcome. If you're comfortable, feel free to turn on the camera. If not, it doesn't really matter. It's also fine. Hello. Oh yeah, you're now muted. I think we'll unmute everyone towards the end. I think Ola is. You can write on the chat quickly where you're from and who you are. We did that already before with the other participants, so that would be nice to quickly see if you want to. Your name and where you're dialing in from. Oh, look, we're Romania. Cool. Ola, Eva is also muted. I don't know if you.
I'm back.
Great. I'm gonna start sharing my screen already for everyone when they're back. Do we have everyone back? No?
It looks like that. The number is there. Yes.
Okay, great. So welcome back. That was just a quick intro warm up. So hope you got to know each other a little bit, and hopefully you also will be in the same group towards the end when we have the next breakout session. So we'll try to make that work. So peer learning is the topic for today. So I wanted to quickly show you the few different things I'm going to talk about. So it's the actual peer learning, a few words about what it is and why. I'm sure most of you already know it. Then really go into detail about what we did. And then we will have a group discussion in small groups, really more about this, maybe finding more ways to do it for new initiatives or something you've done, sharing best practices. So hopefully it's my presentation part is not very extensive. So I'm hoping at the end we have more discussion and questions coming up then. So stay with me. And I thought it was okay. So if you want to ask any questions, use the Slido, not the chat, apparently. Sorry, that's wrong in my presentation. So this is a quick agenda. So let's start with the first part. So there was a study by Degree. They did a study about, okay, if somebody in a company wants to learn a new skill, who do they turn to first? And I don't know what you had now in your discussions, but most likely, according to their study, people actually turn to their team members or their colleagues for help. So I think in the group that I was part of, at least quickly mentioned that if you need help with Excel, you would actually go to your colleague rather than maybe trying to then find a training on Google Sheets somewhere. So really we are already doing a lot of this social learning at work by nature. So we are asking for help, asking for advice, and kind of learning from each other. And that's in the end really what it is, right? Peer learning is really about us learning from each other, either from the same organization or even from outside the organization. So at schools, it's more about children learning from each other, the students learning from other students. But at work, we are learning from each other. I also wanted to mention here, it's not just the employees teaching something to each other, but it's also could be happening outside the organization, like hopefully today. So it's a very meta presentation today. So hopefully I will be teaching you something new, but then also hopefully you'll be all teaching each other as well and learning from each other today. So that's kind of what it is, right? Peer learning, we're learning from each other, teaching each other. And then why do we think it's important to do that also in organizations? Here's one ugly photo, but here maybe the main points of how much we learn from of things that we do. You can see that teaching the activity is that way we learn 70% of the things that we it's one of the best ways to learn, basically. Whereas reading, if you read a book, you easily maybe remember 10% of the book. But actually doing things or teaching things, it's a very, very powerful way to also learn. So that's one of the reasons why also teaching each other is a very powerful tool to learn. So that's one of the reasons we want to do that in organizations as well. So it's a very effective way to teach each other and transfer knowledge in both ways. So for the learners coming in from somebody they know, it makes it easier for them to adjust the information. But the person who's teaching is learning definitely also a lot by teaching the topic. It also builds a lot of social connections, right? You're doing it together, so you kind of building a connection to somebody with your organization or outside the organization. It's a social thing. The studies say that people are also more comfortable when they can then actually turn to somebody they already know. So that's also supporting the learning. Possibly cost effective, instead of always having to hire very expensive consultants, actually doing it within and with the peers is also a good way to be cost effective. And autonomy and trust, I think here it is about, if we feel that we are all capable and smart people, why couldn't we teach each other? Why couldn't we learn from each other, right? So that's, I think, one thing. And there's probably also a lot of other things about peer learning of why we should encourage it and why do companies do it. But I want to just quickly, from my point of view, say a few words about that before I dig deeper into the topic of what do we do exactly then in our company. These is probably very familiar models to all of you in the learning and development world. I have to say that this is something I only discovered this year. So the 70-20-10 and the 3 E's model of learning. What I like about the peer learning and what we also did now is it's kind of combining a lot of these different elements. So it is about the social learning for sure. Part of it is kind of the formal learning. A lot of it is learning by doing as well, learning by doing, by running a training. So I think that's what's nice about it, that it is bringing together these different elements of learning and development models as well. Here's a quote from Harvard Business Review. Think of all the smart people that you hire and surround yourself with every day, and how much you could be gained if peers shared their expertise with each other to learn and build those new skills. So here the idea really is that if we are really all already experienced and smart people, for sure we have a lot to teach each other. So that just wanted to put a Harvard Business Review quote there to make it more credible to you. It's not just my opinion; it's in that virtual magazine. If there's any questions about that before I now dig deeper into the actual program we installed, is there something that Eva is there that should be?
There was one question in the chat. Yes, one question regarding the learning styles that, for example, if somebody is a very visual person, so then reading is better than listening to podcasts. I don't know at what point this arrived.
Maybe when I showed the visual of the 10% what we read, we usually remember.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, it's also then depends on your learner type. If you're more visual, you probably remember better if you see images. If you're audio type, you maybe remember it quite well, even if you just hear something. So yeah, that could be the other visual we should put together there. But I think the main point there was the fact that by doing things and by teaching things is a very effective way of learning. So if we also do trainings or that we train each other, and being able to actually do something is also a very important part of that.
Good. We want facts and see how did you do it.
Yes. So what did we do at Marley Spoon when it comes to peer-to-peer learning, and why did we do it? So what are we doing on its core? We are actually having currently like sort of like academy or peer-to-peer learning program or whatever you call it. I haven't given it a sexy name yet, so it's called internal trainings at the moment. Trainings, I don't know. But the idea is that anyone in the company can run a training on any topic they want, as long as they go through a train the trainer session with me. And the reason I'm going to go through in detail what that really means and why, but that's basically what it is. We're encouraging whoever to run a training on whatever topic, doesn't have to be work related either, so that they can practice the teaching part, and then so that the people can get together in a social environment to learn from each other as well. That's what it is in its core. I want to say a few words about why we are doing it and how we got to that point. So on the right there, you see a picture of me being very frustrated of trying to write a learning and development strategy as a newbie in the field, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do. Then by nature, I'm a bit of a networker, so I went on LinkedIn and I started looking for people I knew had given talks about like topics like this in the past at meetups and stuff. And there I found a guy called Giuseppe who used to work for Blacklane. I don't think Giuseppe is here today with us. But so basically I went there and I was pre-COVID. So I was like, can we meet for coffee? Because I don't know, I have to do with learning and development strategy and I don't even know what that means. And he was lovely. He was like, yeah, no, please join. And I can tell you what we're doing. So I was doing the peer learning with him. Just didn't know what it was called. So then he really supported me and he was like, well, you know, we're doing this that everyone can just start a kind of a community around a topic, and then they're doing trainings on that, and it's very freestyle, and we just want to support this learning and empowerment all the time. So what I did then, I was like, okay, that sounds cool, and I was trying to do some research, and then I found Google's beautiful open library. So they are sharing a lot of things for free, very openly and transparently online, and there's a little what do you call it, link that you can't actually access now, but you can see it. So there's they have a whole they have their whole learning and development strategy online. They have everything they do there and why they're doing it. And they call it the employee to employee program, learning program, I think. They were doing it, right? They were like, well, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is what you should do it. Here's the presentation. Here's another presentation. Here's the, like, everything was there. And I was like, okay, this seems like quite an easy thing to put together, right? It's not a big investment. We should just start. And, you know, the agile way, just try it out and see what happens. So that's kind of now how it started, right? So I was trying to write an L&D strategy. And part of that, I was like, okay, so how do we encourage social learning? How do we encourage that 20% or the one of the E's, or how is all coming together? And then I thought, okay, we should introduce and try out an internal peer-to-peer learning program. So it was a big help that Google's been doing it, I have to say.
So can I ask you, did you get inspiration from them?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, the inspiration came both from Black Lane, who was kind of doing a little bit something already, and then Google for sure, as they were so, and I'm definitely encouraging all of you, if you're interested also, then having a look what they do. So in the end, that was quite easy to get a buy-in, because it's very easy thing to just try out, doesn't cost you anything. And if you have a few reference points, like now you have Marley Spoon saying that it's a company that's doing it and it's proven to be a success, right? So that was the thing that I had to do to get a buy-in. And it's also helped that there's one person who wants the topic. So somebody who's pushing for it and who's kind of coordinating everything. So that was kind of the starting point. What did I do next? So this is not very step-by-step, by the way. It's not very concrete. It's not very theoretical. I started by approaching people that I knew would make great trainers, people that I knew were already good at public speaking, that were kind of social, that they were like clearly engaged and motivated and wanted to be part of a lot of different things. I was like, okay, well, would you be able to and interested in running a training on a topic, whatever you choose, and I'd be happy to support you with that. So I started kind of collecting people that I thought would make good trainers. And now it's more of a people are approaching me. But at the beginning, I had to approach people to get it started. And Eva, by the way, just interrupt me at any point if there's any questions.
I will do that. Yes.
So what did I do next? So I had the yes, let's do it. Then I had a couple of trainers who wanted to do it. So then I started putting together train the trainer workshop, right? Because I wanted to, okay, for us to know then also what it is what's important for us in these trainings. What do we want to get out of them? And here again, Google has also pretty great train the trainer presentation online. So basically I've taken a couple of train the trainer trainings myself before, but it was quite nice to see how they did it. In the end, it's not very complex. A lot of it is about also bringing this social aspect of it to so it's not just this knowledge transfer, like right now it's in our current event today. It seems to be, I'm more telling you at the moment, but the idea is that in addition to that, we have a lot of discussions and a lot of small group exercises as well. So that is a bit of a combination of pure training and this facilitation and interaction, right? So that's what we are training them to do. So it's not just a 1-hour presentation, because everyone knows in today's remote world as well, it's also impossible to stay engaged if someone is just talking for a full hour. So we really need to make it more interactive and interesting. Plus, a part of that is the adult learners. So we are all adults. We already have experience, ideas, thoughts on different topics. So just creating that space for people to share their own ideas is also important part of the trainings. So that's what I now do. I train every trainer on the train the trainer. A lot of trainers there. After that, it's just more technicalities. So we have a sign-up sheet. It's not, I haven't figured out a nicer way because we're not using any fancy tools. It's just a Google sheet where we have what's happening where and signing up. So that's where people sign up, and then I use Google Calendar for invites. So I go very into detail here. So we have a Slack channel that is only for L&D purposes, and then we are always announcing there if we have a new training coming up. The trainers themselves usually do that as well, so to make sure it's not just the one L&D specialist speaking at the channel, but it's a bit more collaborative. And then we have a feedback form that all the trainers use. So we have all the feedback in one place. And then I created with the help of an Excel guru, because I'm not one of myself, I created a little dashboard where you can have a nice overview of the feedback from all these different trainings, and then all the trainers can access that. So it's very low key, as you can see, and didn't really cost much money. Yeah, and that's what we're doing now. One important part as well, I'm trying to regularly recognize and reward the trainers. So I think this is also like an important thing to do. If you do have active trainers who are like, I have a couple of people who are running like several trainings per month on top of their regular job because they really enjoy doing it. I think just making sure you take time to either have a system that maybe every 5 trainings they get a little voucher or whatever, but I kind of in the summer when it was still possible to get everyone out for dinner. But kind of just making sure that you also show appreciation as they're doing something that is quite cool.
May I ask some questions regarding the trainers, actually? Do you do any kind of selection of the possible trainers? You said at the beginning you were the person who went to ask if there were volunteers, but afterwards they are coming to you. And have you ever said no, or are everybody invited? And
I have never said no. And I find it very difficult to imagine a scenario where I would say no.
Okay.
I think the main point here is also that if you have a clear expectation set in about what this is about, right? You're not taking a licensed Scrum Master certificate course, right? You're not taking a Harvard business course. It's a social learning event where there's a facilitator and teacher who's going to teach you something, but it's also then about people coming together. So we are, of course, collecting the feedback to see if there's like quality issues. So if there would be really bad training, then hopefully that would be standing out as really like with getting bad feedback. So then, you know, I could do something about it. But I don't want to stop people from trying it out, you know? And what is the worst case scenario? Somebody runs a bad training and then, okay, the other people feel like, okay, I just wasted an hour of my time. It's not like, doesn't very likely to happen.
Yes. What about the motivation? Sorry, there are coming so many questions. Please use the Slido for that. So I'm not very multitasking person. But about the motivation of the trainers, did you create some kind of how did you motivate the subject matter experts to create this training package if they are, as we all are, very busy during our days?
I don't know. So what I did, we had an all hands meeting where I introduced the concept. Again, maybe it was a good thing that that we did give a reference to Google. But I already at that point had a couple of trainers who were like, yeah, no, I love that opportunity. It was almost like they were just kind of happy to be offered that opportunity. So I didn't really have to motivate them. I mean, I have 2 slides left that are like the wins and the challenges. I don't know, should we answer the questions now or just maybe go through and see if I don't know.
Maybe we can proceed a little bit so I can track a bit the questions and then we'll get back with them.
Then maybe we have a better understanding, like, what other questions. But for motivation, as I said, it's at the moment didn't really have to do much to motivate them to participate. But it is something I'm going to go through in a second as well. It's of course not that easy and people are also busy. But let me first say the things that we're very proud of. So the few things that we say that went really well and what I'm happy to kind of share with you all. So we're doing this so far mostly in Europe, where we have 1,000 employees globally. 50% of them are mostly working in the offices. And then in Europe, we have roughly 250. And now I've trained this year around 30 people to run these trainings. So that's kind of there's been then a lot of people who said, yes, I want to do this. It sounds really cool. And some of those people are from the US as well. Now that COVID forced us to go remote, it's actually been an excellent thing for these internal trainings that we kicked off pre-COVID. Because this means that now everyone from anywhere can access, like today's event as well. We have people joining from different parts of the world. So at least one of the good things that came out of COVID is that going remote meant more inclusion. So we can have people joining from different departments, different locations much more easily. So it's kind of supporting this cross-functionality much more. We have now roughly at least 10 trainings happening each month. I think in November, we have almost closer to 20 trainings that we are offering. They're all optional, right? And then we have a lot of different topics. So we have things more like, productivity and getting things done, and Excel sheets and project management. That's more like the hard skills. But then we have a wine tasting, which is supposed to happen next week, but might not happen. Emotional intelligence, mindfulness, communication, creative writing. We have stress management. Somebody's running a training on stress management next week. So there's a lot of, it's up to the people to decide what they want to teach others about, basically. And we are really trying to also encourage that it's not just about work. So we, of course, also have like marketing people might be running a very like affiliate marketing training. So it's quite specific, but it's open. So if anyone else would like to learn about it, then they can also join it. So it's a bit of everything. I like the fact we have diversity in the trainer groups. It's not just senior people training the junior people. It's not just the team leads or It's really open to anyone. So like next week, we're going to have a customer care agent running a training on a topic. And then, we have a head of marketing running a training on another topic. So there's also diversity in the group. And some of the trainings have been so popular that we're doing it now regularly every month, because we are limiting the number of participants as always, so that it is more of a social thing. So we have, I think, usually the limitation of 15 participants, out of which usually 10 show up. One of the challenges. The feedback we receive has been really good. So the average NPS, or whatever you want to call it, is 9.1 out of 10. So most people really would recommend the trainings also to their colleagues. Average ratings for internal trainers, 4.7 out of 5. And the external trainers we sometimes book usually receives way worse scorings than our internal trainings, which is interesting. So far, we only booked 2 external trainings, to be fair. So maybe not enough data points there. I'm sure there are excellent external trainers out there and also among here just to this group. And what's quite exciting is that we have one person leaving the company, but who would like to keep on running the trainings even after they leave the company. So he'll be our first alumni teacher. So I thought that's kind of cool. It's a topic of mindfulness and they want to keep on doing that. So I was like, sure. So those would be the things we're very proud of, that I think they're kind of supporting the fact that we are doing the right thing. There are a few struggles that I thought I'd shared with you, and then happy to take the questions in about whatever there might be. So here's a picture of a drowning person. So they are, of course, it's not all, dancing on the roses. Is that even a saying? I don't know. It's not, we have also issues, So people sign up and I train them and then they don't do the trainings. And that's a problem, right? I mean, we do have then certain trainers, as I mentioned, that are super active. They're like running every month a training, even enough 2. Some people are doing 4. They're so excited. But then many of them never do it. And then I have to kind of like reach out to them. It's like, well, what about Q1? Would you be able to do this? It's like, I have to also be the kind of coordinator and then the promoter and be the one who's kind of trying to hold them accountable, because a lot of them feel motivated to do it, but then they don't prioritize it. Then sometimes I've gotten a feedback that, so we're doing this because it's the only thing we're doing because we decided to do internal trainings. Now we're not doing anything else. So it shouldn't be the only resource for L&D, of course. This should be just one of many. So whatever other things, we also have Udemy, and we're trying to, of course, now be booking more external trainers as well, so that it is just one part of the puzzle, right? So, and maybe making sure that in communication, because I feel like maybe we weren't too clear on that. Then maybe this is a little bit similar to the question that we like, do I ever turn down a trainer? So this is also what came up when I introduced the concept. So what if the quality is not good, right? So again, there I feel like kind of making clear, we are setting clear expectations that it's not a Harvard style, 2-hour super designed workshop or training, but it is really also a learning experience for the teacher. And what I always say, and what I said at the beginning, is that if we are a company that thinks that we hire smart and capable people, surely we also trust those people to be able to teach each other, right? So it's like this weird idea of like, well, should we then start with the assumption that we don't have anything to give to each other and don't have anything to teach each other? So I don't think that's correct. And the quality thing, then you can measure that by collecting feedback. So yeah, that's kind of, but something that came up a few times. Then sometimes there's also this perception that the experts outside of the company are more valuable. So kind of just making sure that also we have internal experts that we can utilize. That's also important. But again, that it maybe could be a balance between those two. So also sometimes getting external neutral parties coming and running trainings is probably more valuable than just trying to do everything internally. The cost saving thing shouldn't be the main driver. Like, I don't think that's not the reason why this program exists. It's a nice outcome, but it's not the reason why we started doing it. Sorry. So those would be the kind of the few struggles, as I mentioned. And maybe the other thing that is not there is the fact that sometimes we might have 20 people signing up and then only 50% of them joining. So we've really tried to be now very clear on the messaging of like, if you do sign up, then you really have to make sure you join, because otherwise there's people on the waiting list and etc. It's like with any other event, you know, same struggle. But that's kind of how it works at the moment. And I actually have one more slide. Should I do one more slide and then we go for the questions?
Okay, one more.
Because it kind of connects, it's like the wrap up. So the internal training is what we do, but we're actually now running our leadership academy the same way. So the leadership academy is what we do for all the team leads at Marley Spoon. So now it's fully peer-to-peer taught program. We have roughly 12 sessions for each group. Each group consists of roughly 10 team leads. So we try to keep the groups small. The original content was created 2019, so last year, by an external, I don't know if he's here today, by an external trainer who kind of created the first 12 sessions. And then when I joined in January, I took over and started kind of developing the content further and started inviting other team leads to co-host some of the sessions. And now they're running a lot of the sessions themselves. So we're trying to constantly improve the content and based on the feedback we receive. And we have at the moment 9 team leads involved in running these sessions. So it's not just me them doing it, but it's also the team leads. And the participants really like it because it's very first-hand knowledge about the company and the struggles we are having in the company. So it makes it also more concrete. But in 2021, we also wanted to keep on offering more external trainings, as I said, because I think it should be a balance. Now, be very happy to receive whatever questions there might be.
Maybe we can start with the numbers, as they are, for me, easier to understand. First of all, regarding the number of participants, did you ever limit the number per session?
It's always limited. It's depending on the topic. Nonviolent communication, for instance, we have maximum 8 participants. And then for the Excel training, we have 20. So it's between 8 and 20. The assumption is usually that not everyone joins anywhere anyway. So I would say that now we have maybe like 80% of people joining.
Okay.
So group size is usually, I'd say 10.
Okay. And how long are these training sessions usually? And are these included in the working hours?
Yes, they're definitely included in the working hours. I'm very strict on that. And they are between 1 and 2. Yeah, 1 and 2 hours, depending on the topic.
Okay. And we are always talking about instructor-led training.
We are always, yeah, like a facilitator, trainer-led training, but that is a mixture of somebody training and somebody just facilitating the discussions.
Okay.
So
okay.
the person has 2 hats.
Regarding the topics covered, you mentioned that there are some events that are going on regular basis. What are the topics of those events?
Project management, communication, getting things done. Those are at least the 3 ones that I wrote here, because I remember I can think of where wine tasting is happening every 3 months, but now with COVID it's a bit, but those for sure are. Emotional intelligence is also very popular. Our trainer at the moment decided to take a pause on that, but so we're basically continuing trainings as long as there's demand. And you know, we started this maybe in February, I think, and then kind of, yeah, some of the things we then decided to set a reoccurring event until we've exhausted the whatever demand pipe, so that there's no more people who want to join.
Okay.
I don't now remember exactly all the other ones, but those are for sure the ones that are happening now every month.
What has been your favorite for now?
Well, I'm very excited with the wine training that is next week. But for me, that's like the kind of the beauty of, I mean, we're a food company, right? So it kind of makes sense, and we would also support people when it comes to these kind of things. I'm thinking our communication training is excellent. It also covers intercultural communication a little bit. I mean, I haven't even participated in so many myself, I would say, because I'm busy running my own trainings and training the trainers. So I can't do everything.
Okay. And Are you also busy doing some checking ins with the trainers prior to the trainings? Do you, for example, see what have they prepared, give some tips, maybe answer for the questions they might have some?
Yes, so I usually schedule in first the trainer session, either for the individual or group, and then we schedule in maybe a checkup, maybe 1 week before the actual training, where they can go through the whole thing with me, and I'm happy to give them feedback. And but I have created like a training template, let's say, like a PowerPoint that has the basic structure of a training. Let's say just the simple things like introducing yourself, introducing everyone, agreeing on rules, etc. So that's all part of the trainer session, so they can access then a template, they can structure the training a little bit accordingly, and then I do give them feedback.
Okay.
But usually only once, because then I'm out of it. I'm like, well, you've done it then once yourself, you got my feedback, you got the participants' feedback, so you seem to be doing great.
Okay. Regarding actually the feedback, how do you evaluate these trainings?
So we have there's a few different questions, but there is the how would you rate the content? How would you rate the facilitator/trainer? And then we have the NPS question of, would you recommend this to your colleague? There's also a few other things like, was this too long, too short, perfect, or what was missing? So it's also more detailed information for the actual trainers to be able then to improve their content. But the numbers that we're kind of looking at are the ones of the facilitator score, content score, as well as the NPS score.
Okay. And after the training also, do you somehow record these sessions or document them in the way to be able to use them afterwards?
We don't record them just because it is so much of an interactive session, and we kind of try to always make it also a safe space for people to kind of maybe talk about an issue they might be having, etc. And because there's a lot of breakout sessions, etc. No, we don't. So far, I didn't really see the need to record them. But of course, afterwards, we do share the presentations with them. But yeah, we also don't have let's say, an LMS. Like we don't really have like a tool at the moment that we're using. That's why everything is happening very like in a Google sheet. And then we send a link to the PowerPoint presentation. It's very basic still. So it's not like the thought through perfect peer learning program. It's a beautiful beginning of it.
And I don't know about your organizations, but there are some people who say that I have no time for learning. Has this ever happened at Marley Spoon, or are you somehow on happy island of your own without this kind of problems?
No, we're not. I mean, here, the first thing that I shared was the fact that so this is one thing that, okay, the people who say they'd like to do trainings then don't end up doing them. We, of course, also have the issue a lot of people have high workload, are stressed out already. And yeah, I guess some people also feel they don't have time for their professional growth at all. But what we then, of course, then try to do is then offer these, let's say, this is kind of an easier access for your own L&D needs as well as a participant, if you think about it. So if you want to learn about Excel, the idea of finding a course somewhere, like then booking a couple of hours of your time to do that might be more of a work than just see, oh, we have an internal training in 2 weeks. It's just for 1 hour. Let me just sign up and go to that one. So the idea here is also to make it like more easy access, I guess, to people to join those trainings. But of course, no, it's not perfect. Yes, there are people who feel like they don't have time for L&D stuff because of their high workload. But I do think this is it's not just about the peer learning program. It's just the bigger topic of like, how do we make sure that we have all these nice ideas of how we want to L&D initiatives, but if people don't feel like they have time, then that's not really going to be beneficial, right? So we need to find that balance.
Actually, also one participant is now asking that if there are people, and as you confirmed that there might be some people who see this as wasted time, and if they see this also as wasted time when their team members participate or engage with this peer-to-peer program, how do you handle with these kind of situations?
I mean, so far I've never had an experience somebody would say it would be a wasted time. I just said that I guess that would be the worst case scenario. So far that's never been a feedback, and the general like perception of this has been very good, because it's been also, like I said, it's kind of an easier thing Like even for the team leads, when they're trying to support the individual team members' growth, they're like, okay, well, you can do this internal project management training, so we don't have to spend time on finding the best one out there or whatever. Like, we just do that one. So it's actually been the other way around, that people have liked it because it's an easy access and low, what do you call it? Like it's easy, I guess. Of course, then they have to take additional trainings if they want to become better at something, and you know, especially specific skills trainings, you probably need to go to somewhere like Coursera or something. Or so at the moment there hasn't been really many, like, no comments on it's a waste of time for anyone. And as I said, if there would be a training that would be then like receiving really bad reviews, I mean, we would flag it out and I would discuss with the trainer. But so far that hasn't been an issue. Just that in a worst case scenario that would happen.
Oh, if I imagine any topic at all that I would need to learn it, the best way is to teach it to other people, because then, oh my goodness, how well you learn it if you need to talk it out loud to someone else. So yeah.
And some other thing that's not even here, what we started doing now is a little bit what Blinkist here does. I know Vilma is here from Blinkist today. We're now encouraging people to run book summaries. Because if you read an exciting book, it's actually a cool way to really understand what the book was about when you know, do a quick summary discussion group around it. So I'm doing that with 9 Lies About Work, if somebody knows that book, next week as an example. So kind of like a mixing things a bit as well. It's like just, you know, yeah.
And do you support the participant of the trainings to reflect on the learning, or afterwards in general, how to apply what they have learned in the job?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a super interesting question, and something that, of course, a lot of trainers also, probably struggle with. So how we try to do it is that we always reserve at the end of the training enough time for reflection. So these days we do it a lot in pairs. So we, you know, put people back into small groups and say, discuss what you learned today and how you will implement it. Discuss what you learned today and how you'll use it. Discuss what you learned today and if that's going to change something in a way you're going to work now. And some of the trainings have also some homework exercises assigned that all of them should have the reflection time as part of it. Yeah. I mean, if the Excel training, I mean, it's probably more self-evident, but yeah, mindfulness, for instance, it's often a topic where like, I always want to do it, and then you take a training and it's like, well, it's not now going to fix your stress levels for the rest of the time if you don't actually start doing it. But I mean, I'd be curious how everyone else is solving that, because I think that's a general issue with trainings as well, is like, okay, you did a training, you're like, oh, this is exciting, but then nothing changes. So how to really then make sure that it also, is very valuable and you actually do something with it. That's another thing.
If I only imagine the number of trainings that we have participated, and if we really could apply at least 50% of the content, it's already pretty much. Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you think about in general? Do you think this peer learning program would only work when the company is of certain size, or do you see that, for example, do you need, for example, 40, 50 people?
I don't think so. I'm like, why would you? I guess that was the beauty of it. It was just so easy to start. I mean, we started with 2 trainers. I mean, we could have just kept on doing that. We just couldn't have catered for that many people then. But in the end, you just need one person who owns the topic, the one person who can then also has an understanding of training and facilitation, who can teach others the basics of that. And then you just get started. And I think it doesn't have to. I never thought about it, but my first reaction would be that it's not an issue if you're not 200 people. Might be even easier.
Yeah, could be. But thinking of all the possible lowlights, what if one employee would participate in every training possible and spends 4 or 5 hours a week attending the sessions?
I think that's an excellent problem to have. I wish it was that way. I don't think that's not very rarely the case, that someone's spending too much time on L&D.
Yeah.
We do have more clearly like some active people who are like, who want to sign up to everything. Sure, it's almost same with the trainers. There's active trainers and then there's active learners who are like, yes, I want to learn about affiliate marketing, you know, have nothing to do with it. So what we are trying to do also within L&D in general, also happy to also hear thoughts if other companies don't know how to do it better. We're trying to also assign like quarterly development goals for each other, for yourself, not each other, but for yourself. So then maybe you have like, you know, the Q1, I want to participate in 3 internal trainings, something. So then you have a visibility on that and your team lead knows that, etc. So far, it hasn't become an issue that somebody would come to me and say that, oh, we have too many people using the internal trainings. We had kind of the opposite problem. We used to promote much of these 5 training days that in Germany by law you need to give the employees, right? So over 2 years, 10 days. And we're really trying to promote that, and no one is using them. So that's why we kind of decided, okay, well, you have to book a whole day and maybe it's not that easy. So this is now, we rather want this to be part of the everyday work life anyway, so that you can take a 1 hour training here and there. So it's like make it kind of easier, and then hopefully can immediately apply what you learned.
Yeah. It's a very, very, very bad scenario to think about, but actually here also one participant says that it could be a fear of the management.
That too many, yes, yeah, but then I think it's a generic like then it's not about the program itself. It's about the fact that then you probably don't even want to give them any access to any e-learning platforms, because you're like, or if you do, you're like, well, you can only do this after working hours. So it's about the company culture as well. Are you saying that L&D is part of your job? It's your job to also grow constantly. And for that, if you need whatever you need, you should do that. And it's part of your work time, because we were really trying to be also vocal about that, so that it doesn't have to happen. If you want to read a book, you don't need to attend and do it at 8 p.m. You can also book a training day just to read a bunch of books, or then you can take part in these internal trainings.
Yeah. I think it's the culture that you breathe, and you can see it in all the small details. What is the reaction regarding any kind of initiatives? So, yeah.
Yes. So I do think this is a much bigger L&D topic than about this program particularly. Yeah, and I mean, we are not also like, I don't keep track of who's joining which training. At the moment, I don't care. We don't mark it anywhere. We don't like, that's something for me. I'm rather the facilitator that creates this platform and this thing and brings people together. But then we don't really, the only thing we want to know at the moment is, do people like it? Is it beneficial? And we're going to do a survey now in a couple of weeks where we can also hopefully get a little bit more detail about like how many people are actually using it, etc. So I don't have that data at the moment. I know people are signing up. Is it the same 30 people? Actually can't be, because yeah, but you know, like we probably have some active people who are like signing up to a lot of things. And I think it's now slowly also getting like, now I think there's more people from even from the team lead level that are joining some of the trainings. So it's maybe now becoming more of a, yeah, it's gaining more attraction now. Like for some reason in November, we do have 20 trainings. So it's like, yeah. And then I have to say, for instance, with the nonviolent communication training, there's this one person who's very, very passionate about the topic. So he's so happy that he can actually run that, because he can practice the skills and what he's learned, and maybe one day also become the nonviolent communication practitioner or whatever. So kind of, and building a community around it. So it's kind of also like maybe in the long run that could happen. You know, we have a topic and maybe there are a lot of people interested, and then they are creating like a small sub community.
Yeah, one thing leads to another.
Yes, yeah. Let's see.
I ask you the last question regarding the trainer sessions, and then maybe we can continue further. I don't want to grill you here too much with the questions. They are plenty. I'm very amazed. When I don't know, I put in the notes that I need to ask people to engage and ask the questions, because that would be really nice. Because anyway, I'm very curious to see through the questions, you can see also other people's points of view regarding the topic, but here absolutely not problem of that kind. But regarding the trainer sessions, could you recapture how much time did you use for these sessions, and how long were they? Yes,
it's a great question. I started it was a 1.5 hour workshop. So really like a training experience for them as well. And I usually invited like 4 people to join at the same time. Then what I end up doing now, it's a 30 minutes run through of the presentation at an individual level. So I booked 45 minutes for the upcoming trainer. I run 30 minutes of that kind of, because in the end, it's not rocket science what is there. It's about what are the typical challenging learner types? What does it mean to teach adults? How it's different? What are the important things to remember about presentation skills? And then a couple of, audio learners, visual learners, maybe try to have these things in your presentation that is not just, 10 pages of crazy amount of text. And then the fact that make it a discussion, bring in exercises. It's quite it's not very deep, I don't know how to say it, but yeah. So now what I do is it's 45 minutes, 30 minutes of me running through it. Then they have access to the template, they have access to the presentation, and then I have another 30 to 60 minutes with them before the training.
Okay.
I had to find a way to make it also more time efficient because no one ever has time. So that's what I solved it.
Maybe if we have time later, we can continue with the questions, but I would love to hear also other participants. Did you have something in mind for that?
So we did have the idea of a group discussion, right? Of this was not just one way to support peer learning in an organization. So I originally, at least, wanted to go back into these groups and then discuss a little bit of is there anything else you've done or you're doing in your company or with your clients that is supporting this social learning, peer learning, encouraging employees to learn from one another. So I don't know, should we do this for let's say 8 minutes and then we come back and have the final Q&A and maybe sharing? That'd be
yes. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's also other questions pop up while discussing with our colleagues.
Yeah. So this would be the topic. Is there any other initiatives, anything else you can think of how you could support the social peer learning in organizations, something you're doing or something that you'd like to do? Great. See everyone in a bit. So Ulla, are you the timekeeper?
Yeah, I will take care of that.
Yeah, so if we do, let's say 5 minutes still, at least, I don't know if we want to spend more time on the Q&A still, but hello for the ones who are joining. You're muted. Ulla, could you maybe unmute the people who are in this room for a second, or is it not possible to?
Going to be recorded, so probably better not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Milica, I don't know if you see a button to join a group somewhere there, or if you just, or maybe, because Eva is there, you can maybe, Ola as a host, try to assign Milica to a group if she's not in a group yet. My group is empty. Interesting.
Let me reassign you, Mili. Just give me a second.
Can you assign her to group 6? Patricia is also empty.
Okay.
And then we don't know, Julian, message us on chat if your group was, if you're lost in the virtual space.
Patricia, Emilia, you have new room now, so you can join it as well. Julian as well.
Good. It's so weird, like when everyone's muted, it's like you're giving a show.
And the worst part that I can't see anybody, so I have no idea what people are trying to tell.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It's funny how fast time goes. I was like, it's not a long presentation. It's like, oh, it's 7:15.
Oh damn! I also want to participate in all this.
Also, I'm gonna go to one of these rooms now to see what they're
All
talking about.
right. Well, you can't until I tell you. Oh no, you actually.
I am.
Ah, yeah, you can do the
Yeah.
number 6. Okay.
So I'll see you. Maybe we give 3 more minutes at least.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll go and have a look what the situation is.
All right.
So I was thinking when everyone's back that we would share it on, everyone can share things on the chat of the different things, so we would make it more visible. My group is back. Cool. Okay, great. Welcome back.
Yes, I can talk. Good.
I thought, what if we everyone puts on Slack, on the Slack, Slack chat, some of the things you discuss, so we get a big visibility quickly on different initiatives, and we can also then even ask questions around those if we want, and then have still time for Q&A. So just share in the chat, like maybe some initiatives or programs or things you're doing, or would you like to try out, so we can all see and learn from each other. Haha, peer learning, that's fun. And meanwhile, then also, Eva, you can then.
Yes, I'm seeing here actually. There was also one participant who joined late and had to leave already, but she already I can share this feedback that she loved your energetic presentation and noticed some similarities with her or her organization. So yes.
Great. So we have so Slack group plus a facilitation circle. Okay, Slack group plus monthly Q&A session, lunch and learns. I think that's that's kind of a. Or was it that what brown bag, or is that the same? I don't even know. See, I don't know everything at all. Oh, brown bag lunches. There you go. So that's kind of and the company pays for the lunch. Cool. Training point of contact for each team. Okay, yeah. Encouraging. What is WOL? I don't know.
I have no idea. I'm very bad with all these acronyms. Yes.
Working out loud. Okay. Team intern knowledge sharing sessions and working out loud. Okay. Okay, bi-weekly the HR sessions. Kind of different topics. Yeah. And now it's also becoming more cross-functional. Oh, liberating structures. Oh, I've heard of liberating structures.
Actually, only this kind of sharing, reading what people are doing at their workplaces, it gives like so much inspiration and ideas, because many times you don't need to reinvent the wheel every single time. It's already good to hear what other peoples are doing, and if they have something that they can share from their experiences, actually what you are doing also here, Venla, today. So I really appreciate the fact that there are a lot of things happening and cool initiatives, and you don't need that much time or effort to start something like that also in your team or organization. So it's good to share.
Yeah, cool. I think that's also, I mean, I would like to say, still like an artist, it's also a book. So so very few things do we actually invent as an original thing. A lot of things already exist. So it's just about, now someone else about brown bag. So it's the brown bag, I guess, is like a lunch and learn on any topic. And the company, yes, is paying for it. Cool, there's a liberating structures link as well. That's one of these from the, I know it from the agile world, that liberating structures is supposed to be cool. Check it out. Should we take a couple of questions in?
Yes.
If we have the people we lost already, hope they.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, there was one question regarding the name. Why did you call it peer-to-peer learning? Because at the end, there is only one trainer who trains his colleagues, his or her colleagues. So it could be like mentoring. What do you think?
Well, so we are not, it's not purely one person is teaching everyone else. It's because one big part of the training is also the discussions and group exercises, etc. It's also a lot about the participants sharing also their knowledge about the topic. So it is not just a one-way street. That's why we call it like the social learning more rather than. So for sure, the trainer, yes, is the one teaching something, but big part of the session is also the participants having to think about it and maybe sharing what they're already doing, maybe have a tool they're using, whatever. So it's not just a one-way street. Sure, but as I said, we don't have a very sexy name to it anyway, so it's like change the name. But that's the idea, is that it should be more of a social thing. So not just a presentation for 1 hour.
Yeah, okay, I got it. What do you think that with this peer-to-peer learning, as we want to call it now, will there be a decline in demand of external trainers? Even though you mentioned, I remember that you mentioned that this is something extra, and but what do you think?
World, like if this becomes a thing or not?
after this session, it might become a thing in Berlin, and all the cool things start in Berlin. So yes, what do you think? What have you started?
Well, I hope not. I do think they would, as I said as well, we are also want to continue and keep on using even more external trainers as well. I feel like that fresh, neutral perspective is very much needed in organizations somehow. Sometimes so it shouldn't be the thing that they're excluding each other. If it's anything, is hopefully rather than replacing, these e-learning course that is very, like something that's very passive. So rather than that, maybe that's what it's replacing, but hopefully not interactive, engaging workshops with external trainers.
Yeah. Okay, and there was also a question regarding the KPIs or OKRs. Do you use them? And if so, are the trainings reflected in these goals?
We use them. I also have a lot of opinions about it. So people, we should be using OKRs. In my case, I set my own goals anyway. So my only goal, let's say usually every month, is to make sure that we have active internal training scene. That's it. So it's not, and then, so it's something that I would do anyway as part of this. If I'm in charge of the project, I want to make sure it keeps on going as an active thing. It doesn't have to be my quarterly goal. And sometimes I might have we'll make sure we can reach out to people in the US, see if we can get more trainers from there. Yes. And the ENPS score is something that I share with everyone, but it's not something I report on. It's rather than encouraging everyone to join our trainings because we get good ratings with the trainings as well. So I believe, I believe goals work when you set them yourselves. And my goal was to get this up and running and keep it running. And that's my goal. And I'm going to do everything I can. But nobody's asking me to report on numbers on anything at the moment. So
okay.
Maybe it's different in other companies.
Yes. And also one question regarding the working time. Is the preparation time for trainers also included? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Of course it is. It's the idea of learning and growing in your job, at least at Marley Spoon, is that you should also do things that are not part of your current job. So whatever you think is supporting your growth, So no, it shouldn't be something you do outside of your working hours, even if it's not an Excel training and you're an Excel guru, or whatever, So yes, it should be part of your work time. Whether it is always is a different question. There are probably some trainers that are so overworked already, so they're doing that on their free time. I would prefer not them to do that, but maybe some are doing. Again, not tracking it anyway, but it's encouraged. It's not encouraged.
Okay. And regarding the training sessions, were there and which were the asynchronous ways of learning that were helpful to prepare or complement the training sessions?
What are some asynchronous ways to?
Asynchronous that you are not with the instructor in the same room contemporary with the learner. So for example, asynchronous, those famous e-learning models in learning management systems.
Yeah. So, that's, I guess, why we need to have both. So I want our internal trainings to be still the live versions and not recordings that people that in Australia can watch later on. That defeats the purpose of it. The purpose of it is the social interaction of it as well. But then we do have, let's say, Udemy now for the people to access and learn other skills. So I guess the asynchronous part doesn't really work at the moment with internal trainings because we want it to be in person. What works is the fact that it can be global because it's remote, but it's not something people can access afterwards except for the presentations.
If we come back to the beginning when you introduce yourself, there's one question from the introduction part, and
I hope the person is still here.
I really hope that. I wish that you are there, whoever you are. But what do you do in terms of agile HR?
Oh, I didn't skip that part. What do I do? I believe in it. I try to make the change in our team as well. I read books about it. We are not working in scrums or anything in our HR team yet, but I don't have a traditional HR background anyway, so I'm much more of a learning by doing. Let's do things quickly. Let's try it out. Let's make things a bit more agile and at the same time have the process in place. That's why we have an HR admin team that I'm not part of, but passionate about that will then include, performance reviews and topics like that. Like, how do we do that in a way that actually makes sense, that is more agile? But a completely another topic. I'm from Finland. I have very, as Eva and Mimmi here know, both from Finland, we have quite, modern ways of thinking and seeing things. And we've never even heard the word performance review in our lives when we grew up in Finland. And anyway, but so I would say Agile People is the book that I recommend to read if you're interested in Agile HR. I think it was cool.
Okay. You don't, there's a whiteboard in front of me. We tackled all the questions, even there were moments that I was overwhelmed. Thank you really much. I also love to see the chat going on, people engaging, sharing ideas, links. As somebody already wrote here, I'm also going to share this this chat memory because it's
There's
excellent.
a lot of chat about liberating structures here, clearly. See, that's cool. How can we save the chat somehow and then share it with people? Can we copy paste it and then somehow share it with people who Ulla?
Ola is definitely the master of Zoom. Yes, to save it. Okay, we make sure to do it in a way or another. So
yeah,
yes,
cool. And well, thank you everyone who's stayed until the last minute. I did have a slide of, well, you can find me on LinkedIn with my name, because that's my name, Ben Hakundi, if you want to connect, and happy to also just meet for a virtual coffee or anything if you want to brainstorm more about this or just whatever during the working hours, because that's important. It's you know, it's part of peer learning.
Oh, thank you, Venla. This was just something really, really great. Since we started, I had the first call with you. I knew that this was going to be something great. And there are very, very few things that get me excited after the working hours at 6 o'clock in the evening on Wednesday. But this was absolutely something that I will remember. So thank you very much. Thank you for all the participants. We had really much fun time with you and hope to see you also at all the future events that we are going to organize. Anyway, we are going towards the second lockdown, so virtual events is the way to go, but hope to see you also face to face sooner or later.
Yes, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Somebody can share the chat and the presentation. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.